Hi, I'm Doug Lambert, Technical Solutions Director for NRTC. Today, I'm going to talk to you about leveraging your AMI investment to get more out of it so that you can use the data that's being driven from the AMI system into your other enterprise systems to increase the value of all the systems all the way around. That ultimately helps you take action based on information being presented in front of you. I used to work for San Bernard Electric Cooperative in Texas for 16 years, and in that role, I spent a lot of time tying systems together through integration to increase the value of those systems by sharing information between them. One of the last projects I worked on was implementing the Census AMI system and tying it into outage, using the meter events or alarms, tying it into our billing system for readings and the MDMS system also for usage data and such. So we're going to focus in on that with this discussion. So here, this is a screenshot of the meters automatically reporting outages via multi-speak, which is the interoperability standard that was used, to our MillSoft outage management system. They self-report within 2 minutes of the outage happening. So there's a super cap on board on each meter that is programmable as to what you want to define as an outage, so that you don't get blinks recorded as outages. You get blinks recorded as blinks and outages recorded as outages. So in this case, all 13 meters reported in the outage. It happened within the first 2 minutes. And here, the greens, all the meters then self-reported the restoration. Here you see the crew is on site and that they've restored the outage. The meters told us before we even had the opportunity to restore the outage manually on the screen. We did receive 2 phone calls, but in a lot of cases, the outage system is only as good as the information you feed it. So with only 2 phone calls and no outage integration from AMI, it may not have even produced the correct devices being open based on the combination of phone calls. So here's a more extreme example. In this case, there were 873 people that were off, and a SCADA lockout at the high side and the substation, well, actually it was on the feeder, opened up. But if you notice, in the sea of red outages and offs, we have one on, one green. So we got a message from that meter that power was restored, and we received a reverse energy meter event alarm at the same time. So we had the crews drive by, and they discovered a generator that did not have an isolation switch and was back feeding onto the distribution grid. So from a safety aspect of it, they were able to discover a problem there. Now, I mentioned to you that this is accomplished using multi-speak. Multi-speak is a defined web services based on XML SOAP. So it's in an XML payload, and it's been around since 1999. It was started by NRTC, and it is a recognized standard, interoperability standard, and there's lots of vendors out there using it. So it's a mature standard, and based on the standardized XML SOAP, what I just showed you is messages communicating between an outage analysis and an outage detection. The AMI in this case is identified as an OD, or an outage detection system, and it's reporting to the outage analysis system. Now, I showed you outages, I showed you restorations showing up on the screens automatically just through that standard. Well, Census is also sending over power quality events, which is all these that you see in the brown colored area. Well, none of the outage systems today are taking those and doing anything with them, but all it's doing is the first 2. But it is showing up in the XML payload. So I wrote some scripts that will automatically display those into different systems, one being MillSoft's outage management system, but also into ESRI's display mapping platform and Google Earth, and I'm going to show you a little bit of that now. So here, this is an example of where Census fired off the multi-speak message saying that there were high volts. We had crossed the voltage threshold, and it showed up in front of the dispatchers. Now, in this particular case, what they discovered was that there was a fused tap on the transformer, and they were indeed outputting too high a voltage. The customer member did not ever report that, but the meter did report it, and they were able to correct it because of this new information being presented to them from Census. And here's another example where a hot socket was discovered. They showed up on scene and discovered that it was an underground service that was going from the transformer pole, and the meter was on the transformer pole, with underground service wire going from there over to the house. And that service wire was described as probably being overloaded, and that the wire itself was melted inside the service or inside the conduit, and they tagged it as a hazard and told the member they needed to replace all that wire and get an electrician out there and correct the problem. So this problem began at 1:32. And it was restored at 6:49. So they were able to prevent structure fire in this case by this message coming in. And in this case, I'm going to show how when you see several messages come in at the same time on a connectivity model, it helps a dispatcher identify a problem. So here we had high voltage all come in on a phase, and I'll switch over to color by phase so that we can see that they are indeed all on the same phase. You see they're all on that red phase, which we call A phase. And then right there where that BP is, that is a regulator that we bypassed, because when the crew got out there, they discovered that the hands were on 16 boost and that the regulator controller had gone bad. This was discovered and fixed all within 45 minutes without any calls from the public. So I realize till now I'm showing you all of this data displaying on the MillSoft's outage management system. Well, realizing that that's just a small percentage of everyone out there and the systems that you may be using for an outage system, I came up with this tool called a Webservices relay, which is a collection agent for the multi-speak messages that are coming from Census. We gather and store that data, and then we can present it onto other platforms instead of MillSoft, and that includes Google Earth and ESRI platforms. So I'll demonstrate that now. So what we're looking at here are those same meter events categorized by layers here and color-coded onto Google Earth. So let's just turn all of them off and just concentrate on one. You see they're all listed right over here. And we'll just look at hot sockets. So we'll turn those on. So this particular utility had two different hot sockets, but you see there's multiple events because you see the number appearing around it. So when you click on there, this particular place had 6 different events report in hot socket. So you can click on there and see that it happened at 5:15 for one of the events, and at another event it happened at 2 p.m. So it starts telling a story when you see a snapshot of the data on the maps and see that this is indeed probably something that needs to be checked on in further detail. You can also see all the outage calls as they came in. So even if you do not have an outage management system, you could still use those outage calls to dispatch crews to areas. And of course, you've got all these other things that can show up, such as brownouts and tampers. Tamper is a very good one because you can identify where either there may have been an unauthorized pull of a meter, or there may be an attempt at theft of service, because they've pulled a meter to bypass it and get electricity. So there's a few reasons why tamper could show up. So it's worth investigating and knowing about so that you can do something with it. So something else that we're doing is generating reports around events and sending those to specific people that need to know using emails. So here's an example of one of those reports, and it's going to align with the information that's showing up in Google Earth. And I'll show you a live interactive demo of that now. So here's an example of a daily summary report that comes out every morning about the last 24 hours of every event that Census has reported. Now, we do two things. One is we generate the KML files, or the Google Earth files, that can be viewed directly on your network that auto-refresh every 15 minutes. And we also generate this HTML report that could be viewed on your phones. So in this case, we'll look at this particular event, and here it is in Google Earth, and it happens to be an overclass amps event. So it was an overload, and you saw it also here. Well, if you gather this on your phone, you may not have Google Earth available to you, and you may want to use the navigation tools of your smart device to drive to that location. So we also put in that feature as a hyperlink. So now it will come up, and imagine this on your phone, where you can then get driving directions to that location. And of course, it has all the features of Google Earth on here as well. And like I mentioned before, if you're an ESRI guy and you prefer to see this information displayed in your ESRI systems, that data is just readily available to display into an MXD file, and I can assist and get that built. And then we can publish that to REST services so that you can use ArcGIS online and share that out enterprise-wide so that others can see it. And again, you can just build your symbology and layer it in just like this. And then it auto-updates dynamically. As the new information flows in, you see the new information display into ESRI. So using this system, back when I was at the utility, and also several utilities have put this in since, I've helped more than 20 utilities make this happen. And we were able to find the bad regulator controls that I demonstrated for you, and the bad transformers, and we found hot sockets and prevented structure fires, and we found theft of service. So it's been well worth using from an operations standpoint. And what are we talking about here is simply taking the AMI data and turning it into information that through smart people sitting at a desk are digesting that information. It turns it into knowledge that they use to act, to make a decision to improve operations from. And if you have any further questions, feel free to reach out to me. We can help you engage with this and get this working. We can give you a quote as to what it will take to make it happen, and we can go from there. Thank you very much for your time.